Hello, everybody. My name is Lewis Lee, and this is Plan in Traffic. Like I say all the time, we do this every Thursday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. So please share, like, and subscribe on our YouTube channel so we can keep on doing this fun stuff that we do with the automotive industry. We got my man Ray from Motor Mouth Radio. What's up, Ray?
Dr. Lee, yes, doing very good, very good. We're
Good. You sound a lot better from last week.
You see, last week I had some sinus problems going on, and I followed some protocol, and now I'm feeling 110% better.
Nice, nice. I tell you, it sucks being down, being under the weather, especially when it gets warm.
Yeah.
When it's cold, you're stuck in the house and it's kind of normal, but when it's warm out, it really stinks.
I'm kind of sure that I didn't check it, but I would imagine your weather, because it always is a lot like mine here. I mean, you being in Ohio, me being in New York. I mean, I came home from the 80 degrees south a couple of weeks ago to like 50 degrees and rain. That was terrible. And now we had some warm weather. Now we had some cold weather again. And today it started out cold and clammy and ended up like hot at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So my sinuses have been going nuts. Allergy season is here, pollen's out. And a lot of people are suffering. So it's, and I think the temperature swings and the humidity all play in to what goes on with your, with your head, sinus wise, not mental wise. That's a different story. So.
Yeah, it's always something, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tonight's topic, we were going to talk about used cars, how expensive they are. Some used cars are the same price as new cars. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Do you have some information on that you specifically? Because I mean, I don't really look at the used car market too much, but
no. Well, I was I'm seeing stuff on the internet that people were buying used cars like 2020 to 21, 22. They're going for 30, 40, $50,000. Some of the trucks, $50,000 used.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of those trucks go up to 70 and 80 when they're new. So, I mean, that's probably 85% of the value right there.
Yeah.
Which is what Blue Book is what? What's Blue Book's percentage? I know it's not 85. I know it's not that high.
I'm not sure.
Maybe 70. But, now you have all the different models. You have all the different trim models. Like I said, some of those, I know my buddy had a Dodge, and it was the Lariat edition or Laredo edition. I mean, stitched, two-tone stitched, baseball stitched leather inside. The door panels and backs of the seats all had stitched patterns on it. Real. Not. It was an $80,000 truck.
Easy.
And
what really messed us up is when women started driving trucks. it messed up the price game because now they got it's all fancy inside. Before it used to be a truck with a door handle and a window winder.
And a stick shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're right there. I was talking to my wife about this the other day about how dangerous some of the newer trucks are for other drivers. And I mean, I did this graphic 20 years ago on the radio show. One of the hosts that we had, a co-host we had, was driving a Bronco. So it was like a 90-something Bronco. And he also rode a motorcycle. So we were talking from a motorcyclist perspective, the danger of bigger vehicles. And when we left the show, we went outside normally, and I said to him, okay, Mike, get in your truck. And he got in the truck, and I stood in front of his Bronco. I said, how much of me do you see? And I mean, he had a small lift kit in this thing, but he could see like from my shoulder up. He goes, wow, I didn't realize that's all I can see of you. I said, so if I'm on a motorcycle, I could be lower than that. If it's a like a chopper or a cruiser.
Wow.
I said, my bike, which isn't, it's a touring bike, I'll sit a little higher, but still, you're only going to see shoulders up. So yesterday, my wife and I sitting in the bank. She comes out, gets in the car, and I said, okay, remember we're talking about heights of vehicles? I said, look to our right. Now we're in her Chevy Cruze, average size passenger car. To the right was a regular size SUV, which was higher than the Cruze, but kind of acceptable. I said, look to the left now. And she was like, whoa, there was a white Escalade. And when I tell you the hood was almost at my roof height.
Wow.
It was big. And of course, it was like a 5'3" white woman with a kid. You know,
Yeah.
that's who climbs. She needed like a freaking ladder to climb out of this, and it wasn't lifted. It was all original. I said, look at the size of that freaking thing. I said,
Yeah.
what's your chance if you're crossing the street in front of her, or a kid on a bike, or a kid that runs out in the street? I said, you know, at some point you got to say, well, is the driver culpable? I mean, they literally can't see you, but
Mhm.
people want bigger trucks. They build bigger trucks because they sell them, and the rest of us and everybody, public at large, is, you know,
Yeah.
in danger.
Well, I have to say one thing about the new trucks, like the Escalade. They have those sensors in it that will alert you if something's in front of you or behind you. And
Very true.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
pretty thorough.
You have to be tuned into the sensors and know what they're telling you to. I mean, if there's a visual attached with an audible, that's good.
Mhm.
You know,
But those are the big dollar vehicles, like the F-150 cheap one wouldn't
Right.
have that.
right. Yeah. So yeah, it's all relative, but
Yeah.
so I can see when those things come on the used market, they're going to be expensive too. But
Yep.
yeah,
So my question is, what if you're going to look at a new vehicle or a used vehicle, what are things you look for?
well, I think it's the same as it always is. You want to look for value per dollar. You want to look for like crash rating. You want to look for reliability, repair cost. I mean, that's how the insurance company does it. That's why a Corvette was always higher to insure than an Impala, because back when Corvettes were the old school, they had that one piece nose, and if you had a minor, front end incident, you're looking at a nose, get hit in your Impala, change a fender. So that's one of the reasons Corvettes were always higher. So cost to repair is a big thing. Yeah, and of course fuel mileage. It all depends. Like everybody has their own metric, I think, of what's more important to them than others. Like I'm sure the lady in the Escalade, she had a little kid, a little like a 3-year-old boy, and I'm sure if I asked her why are you driving that big Escalade, she'd probably say, well, because I have kids and I want them to be safe. That's kind of a standard answer.
Right.
My older daughter drove a Dodge Stratus, which was built on a Mitsubishi Eclipse platform. It was fast. I remember when I first saw that car, I went to look at it. It was a 2-door coupe. I looked at that car and I said, man, this thing is swoopy. I could see this being a funny car. I really could see it with a flip off body, because that's how aerodynamic and swoopy it was. So yeah, and it was fast. It was great. But when you get in it, it had a low roof line, and she felt it right away. She goes, I feel a lot lower in traffic than a lot of the other vehicles. And I said, well, yeah, you are. And a woman ended up coming out of a driveway and clipping her, sending her across the road, and totaling the car. And she said, I'm kind of happy because now I'm going to go buy something bigger. And she bought a RAV4. So because now I feel at least better. I'm a little higher. I can see better. I don't feel as vulnerable and when I get in my FJ, I feel like that. I feel like I'm in a little semi. It's like, what are you going to do? You ain't going to hurt me.
Yeah.
So you do have that sense of safety in a bigger vehicle, I think. But it's compromised by sight lines, by parking ability, and now you got like parking sensors, backup cameras, and all of that. So that helps.
Right.
But still, I had a Chrysler Pacifica when I went down south. That's just a minivan. I could feel it in parking lots that it was a little tighter to park this thing. It was a little bit bigger than I was used to. So I had to like cut that turn a little bit different, and there wasn't as much room on the sides. So those are the trade-offs. So
Right.
like with the minivan, if people moving is your goal, okay, so you're gonna pay for it with parkability.
Now I've noticed from my Chevy pickup, from my Ford to the Chevy pickup, the Chevy is hard to back up, hard to see. It's like a little different.
And that's a pickup.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's the 4-door Z71. It's weird to like. I'm not catching when I'm backing up. It's like I feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a pretty big truck. I was in my buddy's Z71 last week. It is a little, that is kind of big. Yeah, that's again, that's the trade. That's what you trade off for the size, is that visibility.
Now, my Ford is a single cab, but it has a long bed on it, and I have no problem backing up. But I also have a backup camera in the Ford, so
right.
that makes a little bit of difference. So I'm going to put that in the Chevy too.
I think it's different with the shorter cab. You have better visibility.
Yeah,
And the bed behind you, you just have to remember, that you have the bed behind you.
Yeah, you're right, because I've noticed it. My wife noticed it too.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's something to add to the checklist. Test drive the vehicle.
Yeah. You might buy a vehicle, get it home, and have blind spots that really hit you.
Now I know every forum I've read, every person I talk to has told me the FJ, oh, the damn thing has terrible visibility. It's got blind spots that are terrible, even the A pillars. And I found most of that to be true. So I use a blind spot mirror on the right side, and I have it adjusted. I had the mirror adjusted correctly out far enough, past my sight line. And I learned check 3 times. Don't trust what. Look at both mirrors and look. You got to look. You got to be diligent. But I'll tell you this: that the truck does have big fat A pillars. And I was in a parking lot one day, and I kind of stopped to look at my phone, and I saw a guy walking. So I said, okay, I recognized there was a person walking who was going to cross my path. So I wasn't going anywhere. I get done with the phone. I come up, I look, I don't see anybody. And then I start to roll. He was there. He was in the blind spot on my A pillar. I was like, holy shit, you can lose somebody in these blind spots in the front. So again, you gotta be careful.
Yeah, my wife's SUV Cadillac, it was what was it, SRX?
Yeah, that's all right.
Crossfire.
Right.
Or what do you call them? Cross something. Cross, in between a car and a SUV.
Crossover, yeah, crossover.
And it had real big pillars too, man. It was hard to see.
Yeah. So we had, you got to be aware of it. Like even the Cruise. My wife complained when we first got that. I guess because the roof line comes a little low and the A pillars they're not wide like the FJ, but she said she kept getting bothered by those A pillars. They were always in her way. She couldn't see stuff. And over time you kind of get used to it. But I saw it too in that car. I said, yeah, they're a little bit, but they're doing that because they're lowering the roof line for aerodynamics. Now they're using boron and other metals to support the cage.
Yeah.
So they could play with the angles now. Like what would have been a greater angle needed more structure. They can do the same thing with now boron and get that angle. Yeah, so you got to test drive the car, but even that, when you test drive a car, it's like first date. It's like you're looking at all oh, she's cute. Oh, she's pretty. Oh, look at her hair. You're looking at all the glitzy stuff.
Yeah,
it takes me a while to learn how to use a car. It really does.
Yeah.
You got to live with it. It's like getting married, right? You don't know till you live with them. You got to live with them a while and put in the daily work, and then you'll see how that vehicle is.
One of my buddies bought a new Subaru, or it's not new. I think it's a 2003. 03 or 23, and they let him take it home for 2 days.
Oh,
if he liked it.
Cool.
So if you go to a new dealership and you're driving a used car, I mean, they have leeway to let you take them home and play around a little bit.
That is really nice. I had that luxury, not with a dealer, but the guy I worked with at the shop. When I was going to buy the FJ, he said, "Look, I know you always wanted one of these," so he worked the deal to get it. And he says, "I said, yeah, okay." He says, "Listen, why don't you, it was I think it was like a Friday, probably Friday. It was on. Why don't you take it home? Take it home. Put the transporter plate on it. Take it home." He says, "Take it home for the weekend. Drive it for the weekend. See, put some miles on it. See if you like it." He said, "Hell, you know what? Keep it for the week." He goes, "Keep this thing for a week and see, use it and see what you think." I was like, "Wow, that's really cool."
Yeah, that'd be a deal breaker.
When I bought the Volvo, he had a Volvo XC90 I bought for my daughter and her husband. Same thing. He said, "You know what? Take the plate, take this thing and drive it for a while and see if you want it."
That's
so
nice.
that helps a lot. It really does.
Yeah. So I would tell people that's watching, really talk to the dealer. They might let you take it home.
Yeah.
You know, and if they don't, that could be a flag. I mean, if I'm selling something, I want people to be, want it and comfortable with it. So it's something you can think about. I used to cheat because when I was repoing, I drove all different types of cars. You know what I mean? And
Right.
And I bought a lot of cars from cars that I drove when I was repoing. I'm like, oh man, this car's pretty nice, or I like the way it feels or handles, whatever.
Right.
Yep. And my wife too. If we repoed something on a Friday, it was my car all weekend, so it took it to the lot.
Sure.
Yeah. So we got to ride.
That is good. Years ago, it wasn't nearly as important. I mean, a car was a car. If you could drive one, you could drive any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And now I find myself, when I rent cars to go away, I tell them, I'm usually renting an SUV or a minivan because I'm carrying stuff. And I always tell the same thing: American or Japanese, I don't want anything European. And the guy's like, I turn down Audis, Porsches. I'm like, why? I upgrade you to the Porsche. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to know how to work the freaking controls in this thing. It's going to, as it was, like I had a Caddy a couple of years ago. It took me a while to learn how to, everything is now multi-function based. And
yeah,
I'm a single function switch guy. I'm volume tuning, and even the Japanese stuff, the American stuff takes you a little bit of a learning curve, but I seem to be a little quicker with that. So, yeah. It used to be, like I said, Chevy, Ford, Chrysler, I don't care what it was. The doors locked the same, the seat belts worked the same, shifters were the same. Now, what kind of shifter does it have? Is it electronic? Is it a dial? Is it a push button? Is it a knob? How the hell do you do it? You use your phone. It's like crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The different vehicles. We repoed for a Lexus and Toyota. Well, the same thing, but so I had Lexus like a lot, and they're really nice cars.
Again, my chiropractor has one. It's 20-something years old already. Minor problems. He says, you know what? He goes, first he was telling me he was going to just keep it forever. Now he says, I think I'm going to buy my last new car, because he's like 70 years old. He goes, how many new cars am I going to buy? He goes, I'm going to buy one last new car. He goes, I think I'm going to make it a Lexus. I'm going to just bite the bullet, spend the money. He goes, this thing has been so good for 20-something years. And I said, yeah, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, you do.
Usually. A lot of the high-end stuff, it's in the shop more than it's in the people's driveways. Mm-hmm. So, again, that's why that's like I said, you got to look at ratings, consumer report ratings, and repair ratings and all. Some cars are just more problematic with repairs. Like the freaking Cruise. I'm dying. I can't wait to the day where I can get rid of this car, because it's just just threw a check engine light on me again the other day. I'm like, what the hell is it now? So I got a PO 420 code. Okay, cat efficiency. So I'm doing my diagnostics, and I'm looking at the O2. I'm looking at the live data. I'm looking at my O2s. Both are giving me live data that's different from the other. So I'm not seeing a mirrored data to indicate a dead cat. It's indicating cat is alive, O2s are alive. And it's just, there's some little weirdity. So I'm going to put a bottle of Cataclean in it and see if there's a little bit of something I can, mechanic in a can. I'm going to go with that. It's because there's nothing else is jumping out at me data-wise. So.
How many miles do you have on that Cruise?
Just turned 80,000.
Really? See, our Cruise, I didn't have any problems with it. I think it had 60, I think. 60.
Just turned 80. And well, the problem I have with that engine is it's not the engine, it's the way the componentry. Like all the cooling system stuff is plastic. All the evap lines, they're plastic, and they've been breaking like crazy. I had the leaky water pump, fix that. Now I actually have the leaky. It's a front cover. It goes by it's the oil filter housing that's leaking a little bit. But to do it, you got to take the exhaust manifold and the turbo off. It's all behind that. So nothing is just an easy bolt on. But the plastic stuff drives me crazy on those cars. And it's not just the Cruise. I'm sure there's others. Yeah. But that one has been particularly nasty with the plastic stuff.
Yep.
But
Let's get the fellas in and see what they're talking about.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get some more insight.
You guys got your makeup on?
Camera ready?
Oh, hey guys.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Good evening. Good evening.
What's happening?
How's everybody?
Usually when you guys were talking there about used cars and when you're thinking about, I usually, you always get the suggestion as a mechanic and what stuff I do, people always ask you, what's the best car? Or, and of course you have to watch what you say is because, when you work on one car and you say, oh, that car's junk because that's all you work on and you see all the problems. But I usually used to tell people, of course, back in the day, it was a little bit cheaper than today. You got to understand everything's so expensive. But I would tell them to go rent a car that you're thinking about buying. Go to Enterprise or go someplace. Now, usually those are stripped down models in some cases. But at least it gives you the idea, the feel, the texture, the sight, the view. And you go drive it, take the wife out, go down and drive it around and get a good idea because that was like when we went and got our Excursion, and we rolled in there and the guy's talking to me and I was like, whoa, wait a minute, buddy. It's hers. We're going for this. And they were like, oh, you ready to road test it? He hands me the keys. I hand them to her and I said, take her down to the wall. I said, take her down to the Walmart and let her drive around in the parking lot so she gets the feel because, now she's going from a, what was that little Chevy Blazer to Excursion? You know what I'm saying?
So you mean you didn't take her out to the mud bog?
That was later on, but the bottom line was if she can maneuver, through the parking lot and park the thing, we're good to go, because other than that, I had a cousin that, jumped in one of those excursions and, she wiped out an ATM machine, a telephone pole, and a drive-through all within 45 minutes of owning a car and took it back to the dealer. So, I mean,
That's effective.
You got to understand what you're driving or getting into. So, it's always good to rent a car and, at least go drive it.
That's a good idea.
See how it feels.
And like you said, you hear that a lot too, especially on YouTube. Guys will get that new C8 or they'll get a Ferrari or a Lambo, whatever it is. And like within hours, it's trashed on the side of the road. It's like didn't really pay attention to to controls or power level there, huh?
Yeah. So it's funny. We should almost put the block of wood under the throttle so that you learn this speed, and then we'll put the smaller block in before we just cut her loose. So that's pretty good.
It's funny. I did hear a statistic one time a while back that 50% of first-time Porsche owners don't make it home.
Really?
Well, don't make it home or they don't go home.
Yeah.
And
you want to hear the other part of that statistic? 85 of all Corvette owners become Porsche owners.
Well, guys, I had an accident back in 2020, June of 2020, which took out my daily driver. And when I started looking at pricing back then, it was uncool then, at least for me. And I devised a plan that I'm not going to buy a daily driver. I'm just going to call people and say, hey, let's go to lunch. I'll buy. They'll come pick me up, and after we eat, I'm like, by the way, you mind if I go to Walmart? I need to get a few groceries. I'm serious. I ain't joking you. That's what I've been doing. Remember when we did the Raise the Roof event? Yeah. Somebody literally had to pick me up and bring me home for that. Yeah. Because I'm not driving. I'm not going to buy one. Sure. I mean, I got a driver's license, but with the pricing, like earlier, I was looking on the marketplace. I wasn't looking for a vehicle. I just was looking for parts for my square body. And I came across this ad for a 1999 four-door Ford Explorer, 148,000 miles, rusted to the ground, $3,500.
Wow.
I thought, wow.
Unfortunately, the market is changing. it's not like it was during the COVID times when everybody thought that they had gold. You know, you had your $1,500 car, and all of a sudden it was $4,500.
Yeah.
And the drive, and unfortunately, people in the secondary market are still trying to hold it there. But if you go to a dealership right now to go trade in your car, that price has come down, or that trade-in value has come down, and they're like, well, I thought this thing was worth 10. Well, that might have been $10,000 a year ago, but the market is slowly coming because the new car market is coming. The parts and the ability to get them out is better, but the secondary, those days of the COVID prices are going. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people still in the secondary market that thinks that their POS is worth $20,000. And
Yeah.
I have a couple friends that play in that market, and they are now desperately trying to unload because they paid way too much back then, and they're not getting what they're getting. And there's a lot of this stuff starting to float around. So it is starting to change. It's just, unfortunately, it's not going to be like back in the day when you bought a $500 car and drove it for 3 years.
Yeah, those were the good old days.
Yeah.
It's like today I needed to go get some creamer and coffee. So I called my niece up. I said, what are you up to? She says, oh, nothing. I said, are the kids at school? Yeah, but I got Amia with me. I said, well, you guys come on over. We'll go out and grab something to eat at Burger King or something. And on the way back, I said, hey, can you stop at Cantini's there at Rock Creek? I need to get some coffee and creamer. That threw a few bucks gas, but it just works. That's what I'm going to keep doing until it don't work.
So another thing with buying cars is the insurance. You buy a car, get it home, and the insurance is crazy high.
Yeah.
I always check first.
Yeah.
You're smarter than the average bear, though, Ray, because
No, you know what? I'll tell you why. Well, I told you a story about how I got burned on a motorcycle years ago because of that, and it really stayed with me. So when I was switching to the FJ, I was driving a Mazda 3. I called my insurance agent, said, listen, I'm thinking about switching cars. I want to know what the price is going to be. And do you know the FJ was cheaper to insure than the Mazda 3? And again, looks like we were talking about, it was cheaper because it would be less expensive to repair and less likely to need repair in certain crashes than that Mazda would. So they looked at it as a better risk, and my insurance went down a couple $100.
Wow.
I said, I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, pays to check. Oh
yeah, you don't want to do what I did. I just brought home my Fox Body GT, and my dad goes, hey, aren't you going to get insurance for that? Oh yeah, sure, no problem. Call the insurance guy up. Hey, Walt, got a new car. What are you going to buy? Oh, I'm going to buy this Mustang GT. Oh, really? Your age and your points, you're looking at this. And I said, oh, well, I already got it in the driveway. So that was a hell of a bite for a while there on that.
No.
So,
Yeah.
Well, one way of looking at it is at least you got the car you wanted and you paid the price and done.
oh, yeah, well.
For some people, economically, it's a determinant. It's a factor.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole different world back then. That's
right.
Young and no kids and no responsibilities, being a dumbass. But but yeah, you get shell shocked. It's funny, a few of my customers, the younger guys, they get surprised. They buy something, and it's like you say, you can afford the car, but the maintenance or the insurance is a whole nother world.
Oh, sure.
We had that problem with the guys at the Porsche dealer. They can afford the car until the first time they came and saw me.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have a buddy that has a Bentley GT Coupe,
Yeah.
and he pays $700 a month for insurance
Ooh.
here in Ohio, and it's cheaper. But he has a house in Florida. It would have cost him double that down there.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I like looking for stuff that's free, and like for example, this season 13 of Stacey David Oz. I got that free when I ordered this deluxe
Nice.
project planning book.
Oh yeah,
For
it's
the-
nice. Isn't that a nice book?
Oh man, this thing is gorgeous. All the tabs for all the different parts, you know, like the rear suspension and
Everybody,
electrical.
if you're building a car, you need that book.
Yeah. I love the beginning of it, the little intros and everything, you know, what your plans are. And it's got that, like this certificate at the beginning. You know, you put your information in. And I look at it this way. I want to document this because right now my kids don't pay attention. But one day they're going to want to do something like I do. And I won't be here to help them, but this book will.
Yeah.
That's good because it's kind of it's a pre-made format. I did the same thing with a loose leaf binder. I broke it into sections and have everything down there. So yeah, it all depends. The main thing is doing it some way. That's
Yeah.
It will keep you organized. I'll tell you that. Real
you gotta
thorough.
remember to keep up with it.
Yeah, it's a real thorough book.
Yeah, my storage unit, it's a 16 by 16 with 10-foot walls, and it looked like a bomb had went off in there because I was just throwing stuff in there. Wasn't organizing nothing. Didn't have shelves up. I had a couple workbenches that were in there that were covered with stuff that should be on shelves. I emptied that sucker out on Sunday, and I had enough lumber from other projects that I've built 5 6-foot tall shelves that I've mounted to the walls.
Nice.
And I've almost got it all organized, but I had to do that before I could even touch that square body. And because everything that comes off has got to be bagged and tagged and put somewhere. And I didn't have anywhere to put it, but now I do.
Good.
Yeah, and I drug my feet. I knew the truck was coming for months, and didn't do nothing with that building. I just kept throwing shit in there. Well, it caught up to me, and now I'm
Always
itching to work on the truck, but I'm not going to until the building is complete. It'll be finished up tomorrow.
That's good.
Yeah. Anyway, not to get off track of
I remember, Brian. I was just going to say
Okay.
something to you because I told you about a guy who had a really expensive service, but I couldn't remember where I saw him. It was a guy in the auto parts store. I was in there picking up something the other day, and the guy comes in. He ordered a airflow meter for a Porsche. So the guy says, "Oh yeah, I think this is it," and he hands it to him. And they want to check a number or something, and he gave the guy the VIN, and he's telling me, he had bought this car, and I said, he goes, "Yeah, it's kind of nice. You get a car back from having a service done, and you still got to put something in it." I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Well, that doesn't sound right." I said, "Yeah, I don't know this guy from anything, so I don't want to start talking bad mouthing his mechanic." But I said, "That doesn't sound right." He goes, "Yeah, it's not right, but I'm going to go back and deal with them." He goes, "Yeah, after I just spent like $34,000 worth of service." And I kind of choked. I was like, "What? What the hell?" He was shell shocked. This guy was
Yeah.
shell shocked. I was like,
Yeah.
"I hope you enjoyed those miles, man, because you sure as hell paid for them."
It's insane now because I was talking to my buddy over at the Porsche Audi dealership, and he was saying now you got to put a deposit down before they even start work.
Really?
And that's like insane. Could you? I mean, I remember back. Of course, that was 25 plus or 25 years ago when I worked, and the only time we ever asked for any money up if it was, we were putting a motor in or something major,
Mhm.
and because we did get a few of them. That the person would say, do the work. And, by the time you ordered something, it had to come from Germany. You're talking three weeks, 4 weeks, something coming. And then the guy backs out. We're stuck with a motor,
Yeah.
or a transmission or whatever. Of course, that was a whole different, again, a whole different world. It wasn't. It was always funny. Somebody would say, "Well, can't you put one in from a junkyard?" And I'm like, "Yeah, right," because there's, this is a fairly new car, new model, and there's not that many in a junkyard. And if there are, they're gone, dude. They're, they've been stripped, totaled, and gone.
Right.
So, but some of that stuff. I have another buddy of mine that has a shop, and he was doing Mercedes brakes, and they were not. What were they? I can't remember the name of the brakes now.
AMGs.
Well, it was AMG, but there wasn't carbon fiber. What was it? Ceramic.
Oh yeah.
Ceramic pads and rotors or whatever.
Right.
And the guy at the dealership, they wanted, it was close to 20 grand to do the brakes.
Wow.
Really?
And
So I'm gonna go to Pep Boys and see if they have them for you.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
and my buddy was doing it, and he told the guy, I mean, you're still looking at 12. I mean, and it was almost 10 grand in parts. Over 10 grand in the parts.
That's crazy. That's another thing you gotta watch out for when you buy a car.
Yeah.
You get a good deal on a new Mercedes or a used Mercedes, and the service is $600.
Yeah, you want, actually, the funny part, even I did that with my F350 when the wife gave me the green light that I can go buy my diesel, my crew cab truck, and of course we went up to the Ford dealership, and of course I like being old school. I just wanted a pickup truck. I didn't need all the fancy. I didn't need any of the go-go. I just wanted a pickup truck. And of course, I get up there and I tell the guy what I want, and he just looks at me like I have two heads. And of course, he takes me out on the lot, and there's all these F250, crew cab 250s, and we go through them all. And I was like, dude, I don't need a moonroof, and I don't need a surround sound, and I don't need leather. I just want a pickup truck. But I got to carry the kids too, so I just need a pickup truck. So we finally picked one out, and I drive it and bring it around because they had to, prep and get it ready. And I said, what's that white F350? Oh, you don't want that truck. And I'm like, what do you mean I don't want the truck? He goes, it's a strip truck. There's nothing on it. I said, that's what I want. He goes, are you sure? And this is the kicker, because I never really looked at the truck. I said, that's what I want. I don't want any go-go. I just want a truck, that I can carry stuff, carry the kids, and we can all pile in. And he goes, well, let me go talk to my service guy. And he comes out and he goes, and it's a smoking deal. Because this was back in 2007. And, he goes, well, we're taking 10 grand off if you take this truck. And it was still like 50, it was because it was F350. And it was, Super Duty 6.0 crew cab bed, whole 9 yards, but strip truck. So I bring it home. Everything's great, no problem. About 8 months down the road, 9 months, I get a renewal for my tags, and I'm like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Dude, it should be 2 years." So, not looking at anything, I start arguing with the MVA. I was like, "What are you doing?" And the lady goes, excuse me, sir, you're over 10,000 pounds gross vehicle weight.
Oh.
And I was like, you got to be kidding. Of course, I go out, open the door, and it's 13.5. It's really like a F450 with a 350 badging. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you got to be kidding. So, I fell in that trap where I'm paying tags yearly instead of every 2 years.
Wow.
And that was one unexpected cost. That like I said, that if you don't check your P's and Q's and before, this is something that could happen.
Yeah.
And that's always important to look at everything, even the minor things, because I was like, man, I can't believe I did this, or ended up with that big. And of course, like you said, it's just crazy.
Well, that one sounds like it was your fault right from the start. I gotta say, we got to call them as we sees them, and you were kind of obsessed from the beginning. And when you said I didn't really check it out,
Yeah. I mean, I can't be mad at anybody but myself. And trust me, I'm really good sticking my foot in my own mouth and kicking myself in the ass at the same time. But
as long as you know it, that's what.
yeah.
That's
But these are things, like I said, you look, I'll never forget. I had my neighbor, she comes over and she goes, I'm looking at a truck like yours. I said, all right, go check the gross vehicle weight. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I showed her on the door where it said, and she said, why? And I said, you want under 10,000 unless you want to pay.
That was mistake number 2. You should have just said, I'll sell you mine. I'll give you a smoking deal.
Yeah. No, it's not a neighbor. Maybe it's somebody down the street.
And you know what? You did it a third time because you said, wow, I really want that big white truck. That other big white truck. I got to have one of those too.
Yeah.
Now you're married to that.
So Keith,
yeah,
you're a man with multi-cars. What do you think?
What did you say?
What's your protocol on buying used vehicles?
Well, so I just bought one a couple days ago, whatever it was. I can't remember. A couple days ago for my son. He had a 2007 Prius. It got wrecked. He had that thing for like 4 months, and so I'm looking on Facebook Marketplace. I found a 2008 Prius because I'm just gonna, if there's any broken parts off the new one, I'm just gonna take it off the old one, as long as there's no front end damage because the front of his car is wiped. So I found one. It's like the weirdest buying experience. I'm still like iffy to see if I'm gonna get the title or not. But we did everything online. So I'm chatting with him on Facebook Marketplace. I test drove the car. The guy meets me in some parking lot. I'm like, okay, and I drove it around. And then I'm chatting with him. He says, "Oh no, I'm a dealer, so there's gonna be some fees and all that kind of stuff." I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Come on." So he's telling me it's gonna be this much more, but it'll be in the contract. And then he said contract. I'm like, what do you just send me? I go, just send me the paperwork. And I look at it, and the price wasn't that bad. They only added like maybe $200 for like service fees, and then there was the tax and the title transfer, all that kind of stuff, which I would have to pay anyway. And so I talking back and forth with the guy, and I was like, all right. I go, so I want to buy it. What do I do? He goes, all right, meet me at this. He gave me an address of an apartment complex. I go, well, you're a dealer. I'll just go to the dealer. Where's your dealer? I'll just go there. He was in Orlando, and I'm in Tampa. I'm like, okay. I'm like, that doesn't sound. There's something fishy going on. So, I look at the paperwork that he sent me in email, and I do all this research. I looked up his license number and all, make sure it's like a legit dealership. And it turns out he must just be renting like a room at another dealership.
Yeah.
So, because I looked up the address and it says Suite G, whatever the heck it was. And I look at the address and it's some other car dealer. And I'm like, all right, he's probably just renting. So I call the phone number just to make sure that the phone number goes to there. And I'm like talking to the guy. He goes, yeah, that's my guy. He's selling it over in Tampa. I'm like, okay, cool. So I felt a little bit better. So I sign all the it's a DocuSign, right? I sign all that stuff. I go look at the car, go pick it up. And the guy's like, I go, all right, now what do we do? I'm gonna take it. And he goes, well, just give me the money. And he will only take cash. He didn't want a cashier's check. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, here's the. I go, but where don't you have to give me something saying that you sold me it and this and that? He goes,
a receipt.
Yeah, like a receipt. I go, otherwise I just stole the car, right? I don't have. What do I have? I have nothing. He goes, oh, he'll send you an email and he'll sign it. Yeah. So I printed the stuff out. I go, I have the paperwork. I printed it out. I go, someone needs to sign this stuff saying you sold it to me, the bill of sale,
Sure.
So he goes, hold on. And he calls the dude. And he goes, yeah. And he was speaking in, the guy's Russian or Ukrainian. I don't know. I didn't understand. Yeah. And that's another thing. I'm like, red flags like going all right.
And you're still walking down the path.
And I'm still, that's all it is. It was a good price. And the car is a 2008 and has 93,000 miles on it. So, and the price this is real. I'm like, and that was the other thing. I'm like, this price seems kind of too good to be true, but I don't have a
Stolen
car in my
cars
house
are
now.
cheaper.
I don't have the money. Yeah, that's what. Well, he sent me a picture of the title. I mean, you could doctor it, but it had the previous Toyota place that owned it, and then the company name that the guy, that I've verified is the new owner. I'm like, okay, so they probably bought it from that. So I don't know, we'll see in a couple months if I got screwed. But so the guy sent another email, and he signed. The dealer did a DocuSign, and he signed. I saw it. I'm like, all right, I saw where he signed it. I go, all right, well, here's the money. I'm like, I guess here's the money. And he gave me the key. I'm like, okay, bye. Go move the car. I'm like, all right. I go, what do I do with the title? He goes, oh, it'd be electronic. And, like
what
a
do you
week.
do for license plates?
I transferred a plate over.
How does that work in Florida when you come back?
I don't
This reminds me of the Saline Mustang I had to do the estimate for, the appraisal rather, for the insurance company, and the guy was some kind of Slavic European, speaking in broken English, and he had a lot of stuff that was virtual, and I just got that weird feeling about things. But I think like the guy was legit. It ended up like this guy was legit. I think they just do business a little bit different. And
yeah, the guy I talked to the guy that I bought it from, and I go, so what's the deal? You're in an apartment complex. This guy's in Orlando, and he goes, well, I can only sell 3 cars legally in Florida. Then I need a dealer's license. He goes, I don't have a dealer's license. This is all in broken English, right? I'm trying to get this is what I'm getting. What he said, I kind of know the law a little bit. So I don't have a dealer's license, so I'm using his dealer's license to sell a car, and there's some, somehow he's getting the money. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it's Maryland's the same way. You're only because these guys will set up and they'll have cars all over the place.
Yeah,
and they actually I have a associate, a friend of a friend, and they got like 9 cell phones and 13 different numbers and everything like that, because if they link them together, then they have to, they're like, again, they have to have a dealer's license.
Oh,
But
they have
We do 5 in Ohio.
yeah. And so that's hard. But like on what you were asking about the tags, like in Maryland, you can go issue a tag and they'll give you a tag. You can have a 15-day tag, I think a 15-day tag and a 30-day tag. And that gives you, so that you can transport the car. They're kind of strict on it.
But when you do that, when you go to get that tag, you have to show them something about the car, not just like a Facebook Marketplace ad. You got to, right? There should be some paperwork. That's like what Keith was saying. Now, without paperwork, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that in New York. Well, I know you can't be temporary unless it's from a dealer.
Well, this was I know it's a temporary thing. It's either 15 and 30, or I don't know if they're all 30 days now. That's changed since I had to deal with all the. Or you could be like the guy that bought my F-150 before I bought my crew cab. You could just have the same color vehicle and buy and just switch tags over, and not really.
That's you check the VIN.
Yeah, well, that was the strangest thing, because I had this dude pulled in when I was selling the truck, and same thing. He rolls up and he's like, "How much for the truck?" I tell him the price. He said, "Okay, I'll be back tonight to pick it." Never touched it, never kicked the tire, never looked at it, never did anything. And I was like, "Okay, whatever." And of course, I moved the truck back up to the house, and I was like, "I don't know, this might get a little shady here." And sure enough, at nightfall, guy pulls in the driveway and says, "I'm here for the truck," hands me the money and takes one of the tags off the truck that he had, and it was identical truck, looked the same, puts it on there and drives it off. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. So for the paperwork, I signed a power of attorney, and that dealer just sends somebody to the tag office and can do everything on the paperwork for me. Just have this guy, the other guy does all, transfer this tag. I guess he signs the title for me too, I guess.
So yeah, when you signed the power of attorney, you gave him your signature rights. So,
Yeah, but
See what else he bought too.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
you-
but it's only for that, just doing this right. It tells you exactly what he's allowed to do.
Well, on the top side, but on the back side, he might have a cigar boat down there in Tampa now.
Yeah,
yeah,
he owns
next
the whole scam. Get my signature, power of attorney. Now he owns all my cars.
And that's the thing in this day and age, where all the scams that are out there and all the stuff they're telling us to be aware of, and now this is kind of like a wide open deal, and it goes against what everybody else is saying. And I don't doubt it's totally legit. But legit, if it's legit people doing it, but seedy people use legit means to get seedy things over. So
Oh yeah, and they're always all nice to you and everything. Oh yeah, don't worry, everything's great. Yeah.
yeah.
It's all fun and games until the black Suburban pulls in your driveway.
Yeah.
That's
I
There's
had
a man coming.
I had a scammer messing with me. I put one of my friend's vans on eBay. This was way back. This was probably maybe 99, 2000. So I put the van on. A guy from Africa calls and says, I want the van. I'm going to send a check, and my driver will come, and you just pay the driver from the money from the check.
Mhm.
Right? So I get the check in the mail. I deposit it in the bank, and the same day I got the check, the driver calls. Says, hey, I'm going to come pick up the car. I was like, well, check didn't clear yet. When the check clears, I'll release the car. He goes, oh man, I can't. I really need to pick it up and blah, blah, blah. So they wanted me to pay out of my own money, pay the driver, and give him the car.
Sure.
For a van. So that didn't happen.
Did the check bounce?
Yeah. So I called the bank. I was like, hey, I want to see if that check cleared. She was like, no, it's no good.
Yeah.
So some people probably would have said, oh, okay, come get it. I understand you got to get it. And gave them the vehicle and paid them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was selling a car, one of my trucks, and I sold the guy's like, I want it. I'll pay your full price. And I'm like, okay. I go, here's my address. Come get it. He goes, oh, I'm out of town, blah, blah. I'll send you a check. I'm like, all right, here, send me a check. So I get the check, and wherever, I don't remember the total details, but he was in like Michigan, and he gave me a check from a country club in Maryland. And I'm like, what the heck? Why is, and I asked the guy, he goes, oh yeah, that's my friend. Blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So I call the country club. I go, I got this check. I just want to make sure this is, and they go, no, it's not good. Because this guy's still doing this. He's been doing this for a year.
Yeah.
To get taken our check. He stole a bunch of checks, and he's been trying to buy stuff with them. And he's gotten some people. I go, oh, okay. And I wonder if I still have that check.
Hey, I'll tell you. I had a shop owner. He had his checkbook out on the counter, and a guy came in, and he did not see him do it until he went back and watched the video. And I watched the video with him. He showed me because he couldn't believe it. The guy, huh?
You took him from the back.
No. He asked the guy, the shop owner. He said something about like, "Oh, I want to see the part that you changed." And he goes, "Okay." He went out into the shop, left him alone. He took a photocopy from his phone. He was taking pictures. And so what he did was from that, he made checks and cleared his whole bank account out.
Wow.
That was like on a Wednesday. So he goes and to get his stuff ready to do payroll and do all that stuff goes into the bank.
No money
Anywhere.
Wow.
So they were like, he's like, how can there not be any money? They said, oh, well, you have 3 checks here that you had made out to cash. And he's like, what? So they went back to their video, and it was that dude saying that he had,
he's like, I know that guy.
He's like, I know who that guy is. And that was you want to talk about a super mess, dude. That was a hell of a mess. But like you said,
right?
Did you guys see on the news that old man that he was being scammed over the phone, saying that his nephew's in jail? It's $12,000 bail.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's so
they sent a Uber driver there to pick up the money. Well, this Uber driver was innocent. She goes to the door. He comes to the door with a gun, ends up shooting her,
Oh shit!
and she dies. He gets arrested. He had the $12,000 there, but he didn't really want to give it up.
Wow.
You know, what he should have done is called the law.
yeah.
Yep.
Everybody wants to be a cowboy.
Well, you know, on payment, we had a guy, a friend of the show, who's a appraiser, and he did business all over the world. So he was all over the country, and he was smart. He learned a lot more when he started doing business worldwide. Like a lot of it was in Dubai and the Middle East. And he came in one day and he says, "Okay, I want to do it. We want to talk about what the best way is to pay for a car that you buy, online or otherwise." So he brought with him. He gave us a spiel, and he says, "I have in front of me some examples, and I want you guys to look at this stuff and tell me what you would accept or not accept." And he had a personal check that had been endorsed and signed. He had a bank check. He had a corporate check. He had another type. He had a money order. He had cash. And we looked at him and said, "Well, all of these look good, you know." And he says, "Every single one of them is fake." I was like, "What?"
Wow.
He said, "Yeah, every single one. That's how good they are. Even the cash was fake." So his contention was the only way to really to pay for something where you know that you're getting paid is a bank to bank transfer.
Yeah.
And kind of like what Keith went through, you know, now this was a few years ago. 2 years ago, I'm at the point we're paying off the mortgage on the house. So I go to my one bank, and the other bank that the mortgage was held was across the street. So I go to the bank where I had the money. I said, "Okay, I want to make a payment to this other bank. It's got to be a bank to bank transfer, paying off the mortgage." They do it all the time. Okay, we do the paperwork, who, what, when, and where. They needed a physical address because they wanted to double check. Okay, we give them that. And the guy verifies the funds were there. Next thing you know, he says, "Okay, we're done. Great. Congratulations." And I'm sitting there looking at him, and he's looking at me, and I said,
That's it.
"Don't I get a receipt?" Like, I just transferred, tens of thousands of dollars out of my account, and don't I get like a receipt? 7-Eleven, I get a receipt.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, no, they'll contact you via email within 2 hours that everything has been." I said, "But wait a minute, this is bank to bank, so it's like electronic, it's instantaneous, right?" I was like, "What do I gotta wait 2 to 3 hours?" And I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, I got to trust in the banking system. I was in front of the guy. I wasn't doing it online or anything." Went home, and like within 2 hours, I got an email saying yes. Everything there was my receipt. But even that was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
a
Feels
little
weird.
So yeah,
Tell you, people, it's their job to scam people. They work 8 hours to scam somebody.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
yeah, and they're good at it.
Yep.
You spend 8 hours to scam something. It would only take you 4 hours to do it, but we'll try to beat the system.
Both of my daughters have had their credit card numbers lifted, but they used them in local places online, the Uber Eats or whatever. And then they found that there was a charge at another restaurant a couple towns away for like, for like $5, $15, then $30, $40. Someone at the place, a cashier, probably lifted the number and did it. So they were able to get it resolved, because everything is insured. They were able to get it resolved, but they both had that happen to them.
Yeah, that was when I first got into business, and it was Father's Day. And during June, it's my birthday, my daughter's birthday, my parents' anniversaries. We got Father's Day, my grandparents' anniversary. So we just have this big cookout type thing, you know. And so it was a Sunday where I'm flipping burgers, and my wife comes over and says, "The bank is on the phone." You know, and I'm like, "What do you mean the bank's on the phone on a Sunday?" So I called and they said, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'm flipping burgers, baby. So let's get this on the road." He goes, "You're not buying anything?" And I said, "No, I'm not buying anything." And they say, "Oh, have you purchased anything?" And I said, "No, I haven't purchased anything." And they were like, "Oh." I said, "Well, how much money's been purchased?" $85,000.
Wow.
So then you should say to them, yeah, you know what? I want to buy that Matco hamburger flipper, but they charged me for the Snap-on one.
So
Instead of payments.
I was like, well, I haven't bought anything. And look, the money that was, I said, I didn't have that much money in the bank. How come this got this far? And they said, "Oh, well, they opened your business line of credit from the card." And I was like, "Well, I haven't done anything." And so they were like, "Okay, you know, we'll put a stop on this. The guy's trying to buy another $6,500. And I was like, you know, okay. Of course, I got to go back now. I got the whole family, and I'm supposed to be like, "Hey, all right," you know, and yeah, happy anniversary and birthday, the whole 9 yards, you know. And but the funny part of the whole story was that, you know, after it got all resolved, I had to go into the bank and they give me my new debit card. And of course, it was in an envelope, and I had the manager of the bank, you know, he's like, "Oh yeah, come on in, Brian, and we got your thing here, and you know, let's set up your PIN number." And I was like, I said, "Do you have a pair of scissors?"
Yeah.
A pair, you know, scissors. And he's like, "Yeah, why?" I said, "Let me see those." And I said, "Hey, now, nobody's seen this card except you and me, right?" And he's like, "Well, yeah." So I cut the card up. And I said, "Look," I said, "my number gets stolen again, I'm coming back, and this place is going to be a car wash. You understand?" So I went like 10, 12 years, 15 years without a debit card for the business, you know?
Wow.
But then they started with the bank. That was ID. So every time I went into the bank, I had to show my ID, and I had to show that because I didn't have a card. They were like, "What do you mean you don't have a card?" And I'm like, "Dude, every time, you know, my daughters, like you said, every time they get number hacked," I said, "I don't have time for all that. So I come in here, I'm just making a deposit. I got to show 3 forms of ID and leave a thumbprint, you know?" And so, but you know, I finally had to get one because once COVID hit and you couldn't go into the bank and you couldn't do anything, and you had to, you know, try and deposit money. And of course, God forbid that they had to do it old school with, you know, the bag and then dump it in the night drop. That I would call 3 days later and say, "Hey, did you check the night drop? We use that still? I don't know, you work at the bank." You know what I'm saying? "Yeah, there's a bag in there I dropped off." Oh, we'll go check. And I'm like, "Oh God."
Yeah.
That's crazy. I flew to Vegas one time, got off the plane, tried to charge something at the airport, and my car was frozen. I called the bank. I was like, "What's going on?" It's like,
The wife did it, right?
No, they thought it was fraud.
Yeah.
They thought somebody stole my car and went to Vegas. I'm like, "It's me. I'm in Vegas."
That happened to me when I was in Florida. I went to go buy a bunch of stuff for the beach, and my card got declined at the checkout. So I called the bank manager. I said, "Dude," I said, "what's going on? I got money." He says, "Well, we had to lock your card. Somebody out of state in Florida." I'm like, "That's me. I'm in Florida with the family. We're vacationing." It's like, "Oh." So they fixed it up, and I was able to go back to the cash register and pay for the stuff.
So things have changed a little because in the past I would do that. They always said, if you're going to travel, contact your credit card company and your bank. Let them know that you'd be making charges outside of your normal charging area.
Yeah.
And I've done that. Now, I think last year, when I started going down south, I did that. And they said, "Oh, you don't have to do that. You don't have to tell us that." I was like, "Well, why not?" I said, "I'm trying to protect myself. And, this way it's me." "Oh, we'll note you." Because now with like second party verification and all, I think they've made it, secure on their end where they said, "Yeah, it's not a problem. You're covered." I'm like, okay. So now the last four times I went down, and this last time I spent a couple grand on the credit card, and nobody even blinked an eye. So
What's nice
that
is
was
when you get a text.
what's that, Louis?
I like my bank will text me and ask if it's me.
yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
Yeah.
that. Like when you first get there, the first purchase is like, oh, you get a message. So this you, and you're like, yep.
I have it set up on my phone where through my card. So if I make a, you can set the limit. I think I have it at $50. If I make a charge over $50,
You
bing.
get the-
And I tell you, I'll be at a restaurant, give the guy my card. He isn't even back to me yet, and ding, my phone is going off. It's like it's that fast.
yeah.
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 That was like back in the day when I did a lot of the NASCAR tracks, because a lot of those NASCAR the souvenir trailers are from different areas or different, and some of them are out in different states, just not all out of North Carolina. So I was down at Daytona one time, and I'm spending money, and all of a sudden it stops. And of course I call and I say, well, I'm down here at Daytona, and they're like, well, how come we're getting charges from South Carolina? How come we're getting charges from Georgia? How come we're getting? And I said, well, the drivers are from those areas, and the trailer, all the different trailers, even though I was in one place and they knew where I was, it was still getting outside sources all over the place. Yeah. So sometimes it's good, but other times, of course, it never fails. There's something that you're doing on the shady side, and you don't want anybody to know, and you get caught, right?
Yeah, of course.
But when you're just doing the normal thing, it's you can get away with everything. So
Right.
When you're buying that fourth gun.
yeah. And you forget that's the one that's linked to you and Mama, right? I mean, that's the one that she gets the email and you get the text and you get this phone call,
But the problem is, my wife won't be mad I'm buying the fourth gun. She's mad because I didn't buy her one too.
Yeah.
It's like Bill Cameron from Edge of Eternity channel did a video today that talking about his wife, saying, "Hey, you got all that angle iron out in the driveway. It's been there for years. You need to do something." So he decided, okay, he brings it in the shop, cleans it up, mills down the ends to make real nice connections when he welds it all together. And he made a cart that's got a 1-inch thick metal plate with threaded holes all through the plate to the top of it. And then he ordered a one of those 3-in-1 metal brake, metal shear, and metal the roller thing, and mounted that on top of it. And I'm like, Bill, I said, I know you cleaned out the driveway and got the angle iron out there and made good use of it. I said, but how long are you going to live until she finds out that you bought that tool to go on top of it? And he's laughing. He's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I said, is she gonna be mad because you spent her Mother's Day money on a tool?
Yep. Baby told me to get it out of the driveway.
Yeah.
Yep.
It turned out sweet. I mean, he did a great job on that cart. The caster wheels on it, though, it looks like Chihuahua legs, and it's got a Rottweiler sitting on top of them. But he said they're heavy duty. So.
Hey guys, I gotta jump off early tonight.
you gotta jump off early. It's past your bedtime.
Well, I usually get up
late.
about 10:30.
Oh,
What time?
that is true.
Are you ending the live or what?
No, Ray's here. He can
Okay, you got him set up as a managing type
Sure.
person. All right, good deal.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Oh, wait a minute, Ray, Lewis, did you get a chance to talk to Dave yet from Rust Bucket Resto?
No, I haven't. And actually, I'll do that tomorrow for sure.
Okay. Yeah, he had messaged me and said he hadn't heard from you. I said, well, I'll mention it if I don't forget in the live.
Yeah, I've been running with my head off, so I'll get to him.
Yeah, if you want, I can send you a reminder sometime tomorrow and say, hey, don't.
That'd be good. Around one or two.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I can do that. Yeah. Yeah, I think he'll be great for the channel, I believe.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.
Okay, Lewis.
Hey, Lewis.
Take care,
Yeah.
Lewis.
Take it easy.
All right, later.
Have a good night.
Take it easy, Lewis.
It wasn't me.
Bedtime just past mine too, so I got to get out of here also.
All right, Jim.
Oh, before you go, Jim, I saw the post on Facebook. Is that the whole clan? I mean, you had a whole group there. You had a pretty big gathering.
That's my brother and all his kids and all their kids.
Wow, that was a
just
hell of a
family.
picture. And then you're all the way in the back, just a small little head. I mean, come
my
on,
wife
man.
is like, if you look two spaces over, my wife's there too.
Yeah, I was like looking through. I was like, well, why is Jim putting this? Maybe he's taking the pit. I said, man, he's all the way in the back. You got to move up front, man. Don't be shy.
Yeah, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
I'd be the boss. So
Yeah.
there is a picture of me with Lily.
Yeah.
My niece is, that's my wife and I.
Yeah, I saw the one, but when you had the whole clown, I was like, man, did you just like have a start grabbing people through the neighborhood and threw them all together or what? I mean, it was a pretty big picture.
Yeah, it is. My niece's in-laws, they got a pretty big family as well. Plus, my brother's other kids, they all have kids as well. So it gets big fast.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah,
But,
and what's funny is that's, my niece's in-laws, and you got to go a little deep into the in-laws. Those are the only people into cars. Like every other person in that picture has no idea what cars are. I go into the parking lot, and the guy had somebody had an Escalade, and it had the V emblem on the side. I'm like, well, check that thing out. So after the service, we all walk out in the parking lot, and I hear, I was like, what the hell is that? It was the Escalade.
Wow. Yeah.
I had polar exhaust on his Escalade. Like, oh my god.
Wow.
And then we get to where the party was, and actually we're pulling out of the parking lot, and I hear, I was like, what the hell is that? Here comes his GTO. That's my niece's husband's cousin or something like that.
Yeah.
06 GTO. I mean, work to the nuts.
Yep.
Wow.
The guy was telling me, I told him, he's pulling up, and I look at him and go, it's not loud enough. He goes, well, wait, I'll open the exhaust for you. Yeah, that was a pretty sweet car. There's only like a handful of car people,
Wow.
which kills me because I go to these things and I'm like, yeah, everyone's talking about the Islanders, the Jets, the Yankees. I hate the fucking Yankees. I hate the Rangers too, but they won.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, I just saw the post and I just thought find Jim, it was like find Waldo. I'm like looking through and
Yeah, where's Jim?
And there you are all the way in the back. So that was a good
my wife
picture.
is standing right behind me right now. She's going, thank you very much for noticing.
Oh.
Because most of my family does not. All right?
No.
Good night, guys.
Take care, Jim.
Good night, Jim. Yeah, I'm gonna jump ship here in a few minutes myself. I got a long day tomorrow. Finish that storage up, and then one of the cables for the lifting springs on my overhead door broke last night when I was putting the door down. Good thing I wasn't standing there. That spring would have went right through me.
Yeah, well, make sure you have somebody do that because I was in a shop and the owner sent his nephew up the ladder to do that spring. And as he was winding it up with two pry bars, one slipped out and slid him from the top of his head all the way down to his belly button.
Wow.
He was a filleted fish flopping around. He fell off the ladder onto the ground and flopping around. So that was
well, mine is not that.
Make bars for that.
Mine's not that way. It's just a big long spring with
on the side. Yeah.
And on the wall where the track is another pulley that the cable runs through.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have all that winding up stuff to do to fix it. You just put the new cable in pull it tight, put those U-bolt type
Yeah.
nut things on there. And because see, it had those, but I can't find them. They're probably embedded in the wall somewhere.
Broke one flying.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm lucky I didn't lose the screen on this laptop because it was right there, right over my head.
Oh, man.
And but I was putting the door down last night and that thing boom. I was like, oh, now I can't get the door up. So
Yeah,
So
it's
mine,
crazy.
my garage has 2 springs. Does one
yeah,
make
mine
it,
too.
does one make it go up, one make it go down?
No, both mine are made for going up and down.
'Cause
Yeah.
One,
So
I had
when one is
one
not
brick
working,
break, and then I'm like, oh, I want to open it. So I thought, oh, I'll just, yeah. So I'm like, oh, I'll just lift it up because the garage door open. I wouldn't lift it up. I'll just go lift it up, and it felt like I was lifting 1,000 pounds. I'm like, holy crap!
Yeah.
Was the door that heavy, or is there a spring tension?
Yeah, doors that heavy. Doors
That's
that
how
heavy.
much-
yeah.
That's how
I
much the
just-
springs assist the
I
door.
tried to raise it and I said, screw this. I just left the door down all day and used the man door.
Yeah.
And because I was back and forth from this shop over to the storage and then back again, back over there.
Yeah,
I'll get it all done.
it's a thick door. It's got insulation in it, and it's hurricane rated, so it's got extra bars and all this
Right.
stuff on it. It's like, and I got it up. I'm like, I'm not doing that again. I put it down. I'm like, I'm not lifting it again.
Well, I think mine is slam shut rated because, man, when that thing snapped, I didn't have to push it the rest of the way down. It just flopped to the freaking ground.
Yeah.
And it locked itself. So I didn't have to even lock it. It was already locked.
Oh man.
So,
Yeah, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about anybody getting in. They're not going to be able
right.
to.
It's not,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a pain to try to pick those things up. I tell you, but it's
Yeah, they'll wake me up because it will make a lot of noise.
How about I had a car trailer, and I was has the 2 things on the side. I opened it up, and then I think the spring broke in that thing. I'm like, oh, let me let it down. All of a sudden, I'm like, whoa! You hear a whole bunch of noise, bing bong, like
Yeah,
people's going, and all of a sudden the door is coming down. I'm like, holy shit!
yeah.
1,000-pound door or whatever. I'm like, God, and I just got out of the way and let it slam. I'm like, all right, I almost got crushed to death by the freaking door.
Yeah, I do know that it hit the air filter on the compressor pump and put a dent in the filter screen, the mesh screen that protects the paper filter. It's an 80-gallon air tank with a huge pump. It hit that thing, and God, I had to look at it, make sure I didn't have to replace my pump, but it's okay. So. I need to move that air compressor to this side of this workbench into that corner, which I'll probably do this weekend because I got to get that truck cab off of that frame, get it onto the dolly cart, and then I can get it in here, but I got to move the compressor first. So Ray's like, I don't understand all this. You guys, I've got a big shop.
Yeah.
I need a bigger one, but I'm managing this one back and forth between that storage. I can keep things out of the way when I don't need it over here. So, but you guys have a great night. It's been good seeing you, and hopefully you find yourself a heater with a beater and not have to pay a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
So, but we'll get. Go ahead.
I'm keeping the old ones going, man. I just keeping the old cars chugging, and
Yeah.
that's it. They don't owe me nothing, so just keep them running until they don't run anymore.
Yeah. I have enough right now with that square body that I can get it tore all down this summer, get the body work done on the cab, get the bed put together, have everything in primer and the suspension and frame all cleaned and painted. Probably have it on the road by spring of next year to just cruise it around without having it completed yet, but it would be running and driving.
Sure.
And I can work on it a little at a time.
That's one of the most
after
fun.
that. Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to worry about scratches and telling people don't touch it.
Exactly.
But
Big fan of that.
Oh yeah. All right, guys. You have a great night. I appreciate you.
All right. See
All
you.
right, Joey, take
See you
care.
later.
Be safe. Play nice.
Yep. You too. We'll see you. Bye.
You know, speaking of keeping the beaters going, I just got the family beater Mazda back. Just did the exhaust repair on that last weekend.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, no big deal. In the driveway. Used my car ramps for the first time in like 100 years. Just wasn't worth the effort to go any further with it. So, and then yesterday, we're going to take my wife's car out. And I knew, she had used it the day or two before. And as soon as I get in, I'm like, check engine lights on. Like, when did that happen? Like yesterday? Like, how come, her and my daughter both drove it? Oh, is it? Like, yeah, it is. So we went food shop, and I said, I have to get home and scan this thing, see what the hell's going on. And of course, it was if you had to take a bet, the 9 out of 10 chance is it's going to be either a PO 300 something or a PO 420, and it was the evac code. So like, okay. And that had a 420 stored in history, and it had one that was an old code, and now it had the current code. So I put the scanner on it, and I start looking at live data. I said, let's see if we got a bad cat. So I look at the oxygen sensors, and I'm getting good voltage readings. And I was actually able to overlay them on the screen, to make sure it wasn't the exact same pattern and the cat was dead. And no, I had live O2s. So the cat was working. The O2s were reporting, not out of range. And I'm like, I've seen this before. So I actually got Joe, my old co-host Joe, on the phone. I said, hey, Joe, let me run this by. Let's talk about PO 420 a bit. So, he had me go into mode 6, and we'll look at the mode 6 data, which again wasn't damning. So I said, okay, I think I know what I'm going to do. And he's like, yep, mechanic in a can. I said, yeah, I'm going to get a can of Cat Clean and put some in there, because it's just like a threshold that's, that's you're on the edge. I said, and the car's got 80,000 on it now. I do not want to put a cat in it. You never want to do that. So now I'm going to see. I'm going to put the Cat Clean in it and see what happens. But
I think I have a can over here, because I do it to the DEF filter on the tool truck.
Yeah.
And it's also it's a German product, and you spray it into the exhaust.
Oh, into the exhaust? Yeah.
Yeah, what you would do is you take out your front O2 sensor.
Mm-hmm.
When it's hot, spray it in there, and it foams up and cleans out the cat and DEF filters.
Oh wow,
that's cool. You let it run, and I'm going to tell you something, dude. Crazy. It will freak you out, because you start that thing back up, and and it smokes. Man, you think you're like, what the hell did I just do? But it cleans them out, and it's I'll go get the can so you can see it. But
send me a picture of it,
Yeah, but it's a can of the cleaner, and it comes with a can of stuff that you pour in. It's very it's very similar. It's a little bit more toxic smell.
I would think so. Where do you get that, Brian?
I get it online. I have a place that I buy off of. I'll have to see if I can find it in my email. But the stuff is very similar to like BG44K, injector cleaner stuff.
Right.
But you run that in afterwards, and it's supposed to help clean up or coat or whatever it's supposed to do.
Okay.
But I ran into that problem. It's ongoing, these with the DEF, the system on these trucks.
Right.
And, where you got to, every 30,000 miles or whatever, or 300 hours, you got to take it off, have it clean and baked, and, all kinds of BS.
Yeah.
I've been really lucky because that's one of the problems. Like with the DEF system, they don't like to be idled, and
Yeah.
of course, I'm idling all day.
Weird.
Right.
And but I clean it. I've gotten kind of I did it last night. Last night I changed oil. I went through, changed oil, changed both fuel filters, and then I cleaned out the DEF. And but the stuff is real. It says it'll work with catalytic converters, and like I said, you just spray it down into the pipe, and it foams up, and it cleans that out, and it burns through. And man, talk about cleaning! It's incredible.
It reminds me of many years ago, I had a Pontiac Parisienne wagon with the wood grain sides. It was a 9-passenger wagon and had the old 307 in it. So, and it was just, kind of running crappy. I'm trying to remember if that was a TBI engine or if it was the electronic Quadrajet. It might have been the electronic Q-Jet. And because then it was 87. And I said, you know what? I bought the GM. I still have a can of it in the garage. It was a GM upper cylinder and valve cleaning solution.
Yeah.
And what they tell you to do is you have the car at operating temperature, and then you run it up to like 2,000 RPM, and you start pouring the stuff into the carburetor and keeping the idle up. And when you get about 2/3 or 3/4 of the can in, you dump the rest of it in one gulp and let go of the throttle and let the engine stall, and then shut the key off and it'll hot soak. And they say you let it hot soak for like 30 minutes and then start the car. And I did. And I wasn't prepared for the fact that my tailpipe was facing the house. And the
Into the garage
lighting was a light color, and the thing let out this boff of this black stuff that literally looked like a blunderbuss gun had gone off against the house. All that carbon and shit came flying out.
Wow.
And the car smoked for a while, but I took it for a ride, and on the highway and like off idle, it was a lot smoother. It cleaned out a lot of crap. Idle wise, I think it maybe got a little worse at idle because now there wasn't carbon sealing off the valves where there was before. So,
Right.
But that was quite a
Sorry, Ray. I gotta.
That's all right, Brian.
Yeah, it's like the Seafoam. I use that all the time.
Yeah. That GM stuff is really good though. I've used that before. That stuff. And Seafoam, it's funny. Seafoam is really good too. You just gotta be careful, especially, like I said, when you're pouring that stuff in through the carburetor to clean stuff out or whatever, because, if you give it too much, you can have a hydrolock issue or have a problem. That was like when I bought my Scout. And I bought it from a guy, and it was running like crap, And I bring the truck home, and of course my old man was just having a fit because I bring this, ugly truck home, beast, and it's running. It's a V8, and it's running on 3.5 cylinders, and popping and banging and making all kinds of noise. And we sat there and. Tell my dad, I said, bring me 2 32-ounce cups of water.
Oh,
and he's like, you want ice? And I said, no. And he goes, 2 cups? I said, yeah. And, I'm trying to keep it running because it barely ran, and it was running. And he comes out and he hands me this water and he's looking at me, what in the world are you going to do with this, thing? And I slowly start pouring it down as I'm giving it gas, and this thing is just making noise and the smoke coming out of the exhaust, and you could just see stuff coming out, and it was just so carboned up, and slowly it just starts to run smooth as a whistle, And I guess the insult of injury was he had extra parts for the truck, and I told him I'd come back and get them. Of course, like I said, the truck was running rough. I show back up there in the truck, running smooth, and he's like looking like, "What did he do?" I said, "It was just thirsty, dude. It was just thirsty." You know?
Yeah.
And but that was back in the, we had a 2-liter bottle with a hole cut in the, in the top, and we would have it hanging like an IV thing, and you'd squeeze it when you were going in, cleaning out carbon buildup. Today's a little bit more difficult because there's no like easy access support.
Right.
So,
well, you know what? We'll end our live stream here, and we'll be back more of this stuff next week with Loose Lee. Of course, Brian, McAman, Brian, Keith, all the regulars will be here. Me, Motor Mouth Ray. That's if I'm still awake. We've got to do our marathon next week, so it's going to be a killer of a Sunday.
oh, that'd be awesome.
It's gonna be.
So we'll be back here more doing this again next week. Until then, keep the greasy side down, and we'll see you on Playing in Traffic next Thursday night.
See you guys later.
Awesome.